Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wilding in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gonna be our year. We're here drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring. Yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans, by fans. Kings win tonight, guys. Kings win 116-109 in Phoenix. 5 Kings players are in double digits, and Kings win. I'm going to say it again. Kings win. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to smash that like button, and if you would like to join the Royal family with Calvin, Vinny, and I, please hit that subscribe button as well.
Yeah, not just a win, a wire-to-wire win. The Suns never led in this game. I don't know when the last time that happened for Sacramento was. It feels like a very long time ago. What's up, everybody in the chat? There was a Justin Holiday sighting as well tonight. Maybe he just needs to play his younger brother more often.
A little holiday on holiday crime.
It is National Sibling Day as well today.
If you're listening via your favorite podcast platform, we would appreciate a 5-star rating. And if you would like to be a part of the show, you can always join us here live on YouTube after every single Kings game, including tonight, the last game of the season, and the Kings officially missing the playoffs for 16 straight seasons, setting a new record. We'll be right back with your Sacramento Kings nightcap. We're here, we're drinking beers, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings.
One last time.
Ice
until
cold
next season.
Coors Light, Calvin. It really does hit the spot. What's up, everybody in the chat? Mike, Gothan, Makami, Ivan, Steven, welcome. Jay, Drew, Fred, I see you guys. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Kings win. Made my day, Calvin. How about yours?
That's right. They made it. 30 wins. They actually got there.
Only 7 less than I bet them to win.
Right? So close.
We didn't think they were going to make it, but hey, they did. And, you know, Phoenix was not playing all their stars tonight. The Kings tried to give up this game late in the game.
They sure did.
But they end up coming through, and they win. And, you know, like they say in the chat, glad Gentry got one final win with the Sacramento Kings, because we have no idea.
Yep. And it was
what's
against
going
his
on.
former team, one of his former teams.
Yeah, dude has a lot of former teams.
Does.
Davion, 10th, 7+ assist game. Dude is playing incredible. 15 assists for him tonight. He just keeps getting better and better, huh, Calvin?
It's wild. If you would have told me before the season started, you could have even prefaced this with Tyrese Haliburton will get traded from the Kings.
Yeah.
And then you say Davion is going to have more assists in his rookie season than Tyrese did. I would have told you were absolutely smoking rocks or something. You were doing something crazy. But he did it. Second game this season with at least 15 assists. He's proved, he has to have proved at this point to everybody that he belongs in the NBA. This dude's a player.
Definitely. And I want to remind you all that we save balls. Support for Royal Rebounds is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide with this exclusive offer for you and Calvin. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. All you got to do is go to manscaped.com and put in our code Royal Family. That's right, Royal Family, one word, all capitals, at manscaped.com. Gets you 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped. If my math is correct, Calvin, that is 8 million balls.
Yep, it's quick math, but I think you're right.
All right, so Kings win, dude. It feels so good to say that. They shot incredibly well in this game. Can you believe it? The Kings shot over 50% from three-point range in this game.
They shot better from 3 than they did from 2, and they shot 52% from the field.
Right? Suns shot below 30%. This is basically a flip-flop of the last Kings game,
yes,
right?
It is.
But let's jump here into the team stats. the box score. As I mentioned, 5 Kings tonight in double figures. It was a pretty balanced effort, and my guy Harrison Barnes, 13 minutes and only 2 points again.
Yeah, Harrison, it was very much the season finale for him, right? He didn't even come back or return to the game after halftime, only 2 field goal attempts. Davion Mitchell, 18 points, 15 assists. He also had 2 blocks in this game to go along with 3 rebounds. Justin Holiday and Damian Jones, each with 19 points. Damian Jones had a big fourth quarter. He definitely closed the season on a high note. 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks for him as well. 8 of 9 shooting. He was even 1 of 2 from 3 tonight. And then the bench, again, as you would have expected, they played a lot of minutes. DiVincenzo, with 27 minutes off the bench, starts the second half for Harrison Barnes. So he does finally crack the starting lineup, even if it's only for a half. 19 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists for him. Josh Jackson also had 12 points as well. And as you mentioned, the Kings could not miss. 53.8% from 3, 14 of 26 from downtown.
Yeah, everyone was feeling it from three-point range tonight, but nobody more than Justin Holiday, 5 of 6 from three-point range. Great game for Justin, and happy to see him kind of, I guess, fall back into rhythm, even though it's the last game of the season. But it's just good to see him play well because so many people have doubted him, and it seems like the past 3 weeks everyone's been talking about why is this guy even starting and all this stuff. And I actually agree, but good for him. Got to see 18 minutes more for Keita tonight. 2 impressive blocks for him. Only 6 points. But Calvin, I'm going to ask you, and I think I know your answer already, but I got to know, who is your king of the night?
Oh, it's got to be Davion. I don't see how, Damian Jones, I think, gets an honorable mention here for this as well. And Justin Holiday had a great game. He shot really well. Like you said, it's great to see him end the season on a high note after struggling so much there down the stretch and having all that added pressure of everyone wanting to see Dante start ahead of him. So I feel good for him. But Davion is the man of the hour for the Kings. He has to be. 15 assists, 18 points, ends the season playing, as well as a lot of top guards in this league. Really, you could make a case for that. A two-way player. He also really improved at the free throw line towards the end of the season, which was the biggest problem for a lot of us with his game, aside from the struggling shooting overall to begin the season. But free throw percentage kept on coming up as one of the biggest problems for him, not just as a pro, but his whole basketball career. He seems to have kind of figured his way out of that.
Much better as a starter.
Yes, much. Obviously, his numbers are much better as a starter, but that he was playing 40 minutes a game for the past 5-6 games here down the stretch, maybe even more than that. So,
19 points for DiVincenzo tonight, and I know we talked about it last night about the rumors that are coming out about his camp is not happy with Sacramento, and they think that they're trying to drive down his free agency value. I didn't think we broke the story really early last night, but all I see today, all on social media, is everybody talking about that situation. 19 points for him tonight, as you mentioned. He started in the second half, but it wasn't an official start. Not that it really matters at this point. As we mentioned last night, he needed 14 more starts on this season to qualify for that bigger qualifying offer. Thoughts on DiVincenzo? He looked fine out there to me. He didn't look like he was upset, or even if he is upset, he doesn't show that on the court.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of his demeanor and his mentality anyway, especially when he's on the court. He's just one of those guys that has a game face to him the whole time. Doesn't seem to get rattled very much. And I think he's very confident in who he is as a player. So you can see that when he comes and checks into the game off the bench, even if he is, as these reports say, very upset with his minutes, he still goes out. He was on a mission today, as soon as he got into this game, especially in that second half. Threes were going up whenever he had the opportunity. Was 4 for 7 from 3 tonight. So I think my opinion of him is still the same overall. I think he did deserve to start more coming down the stretch there. I'm not really sure why. Maybe we'll find out one day. Yeah. But in terms of his hurting his free agent marketability or availability, I don't think that he really damaged the Kings or himself really damaged it too much. I think he's still going to get some decent offers here. Whether someone offers him that full, I think it's a little over $10 million for the mid-level exception. That remains to be seen. And certainly Sacramento wants to keep this guy. So,
yeah, for me, it's more of like, is the relationship damaged? Does he feel like Sacramento's best interest is not the same as his best interest? And, stuff like that happens in contract negotiations and all that. Let's just hope that it's something that they can agree on as just business and they're moving past it together. But, as we mentioned last night, there's another layer to this situation, right? And that's, what if the Kings are able to bring in or acquire a shooting guard that's better than Dante DiVincenzo? Are they going to try and convince this guy, hey, you started last year on a championship team. This year you came off the bench for a 30-win team. We want you to come off the bench again next season because we got somebody who he might not think is better than him, but we do.
Yeah, the Kings have, once again, a ton of questions to answer in the offseason. There's a lot more that's going to go into building this roster out than just deciding whether or not you give Dante DiVincenzo the full mid-level exception. And as you mentioned, it's all about building or adding talent to this team. So if there is somebody out there that the Kings are able to acquire that, makes more sense to start at the shooting guard spot, nothing is promised, in this business, even for some of the biggest name guys in the sport. There's going to be a lot of competition, I think, for amongst this roster to fill it out, to get the starters set, and a lot of questions to answer from top to bottom.
Yeah, I think that he definitely needs to work on his finishing ability. But when his shots go in, like he looks basically the same player out there all the time to me. He gives effort, he gives energy, he plays good defense, he always goes after the boards. The difference is shots going in is basically the difference for me. I would like to see him, as Alex said in here, turn the ball over a little bit less, finish a little bit better at the rim. I'm hoping those are things he can improve on as he continues to, come back to full strength from the ankle injury and all that stuff. But on another topic, not regarding starters or anything like this, but Josh Jackson has been playing pretty well as of late. He's bounced around. You and I talked about when he got drafted, high hopes for him, seemed to have it all physically, but maybe not all mentally. He's bounced around a little bit. I think he was kind of a throw-in for the Kings, right, in these deals. He's actually played better as of late, 12 points for him tonight. What do you think about Josh Jackson?
I like a lot of what Josh Jackson brings to the table. I kind of view him the same way I do Metu. I like their games. The question for me is, it's really hard. These final 4 or 5 games of the season, it's really, really difficult to truly evaluate what's happening on the court.
Yeah.
There's so many guys that aren't playing, first of all. A lot of these games are meaningless. So for a guy to put up a bunch of numbers, you can even say this about Damian Jones. I'm not going to, because I think he did it over a long enough time span and against good enough competition that I believe that he's ready to take the next step. And he probably is going to get paid a decent amount this offseason, whether it's with Sacramento or not. But Josh Jackson is one of those guys where it's like, it's hard to really evaluate what you've got here at the end of the year. He didn't really get a lot of play to begin with. And now it's these meaningless games where he's not playing the top tier competition. Do I think that he can play? Absolutely. But again, we just mentioned it before. There's so much question marks everywhere on this roster. Are you really going to, reserve a spot for Josh Jackson right now before you've even attempted to do anything with the draft or free agency?
Yeah, he's coming off the bench against maybe the third or the fourth string players at this point. I don't want to toot my horn, Calvin, but I think I predicted a Kings victory in this game. I'm not going to lie. I did.
You could probably go back and look at the tape. Yeah,
I think, quote unquote, you said if Mikhail Bridges plays, it's over. Only 6 minutes for him tonight. What happened to him?
I should have said, I think it was one of the same situations as Drew Holiday earlier today. We saw Drew Holiday start the game, and immediately after the tip, he commits a foul, but he gets credit for playing in this game, so he gets a $300,000 bonus.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was the same situation for Mikhail Bridges, but I would guess it has to be something like that. That's the only why would you play just 6 minutes?
Go Monty Williams. Hopefully he didn't get injured. I certainly did not see any injury from him. So, but yeah, go Monty Williams. Way to hook up your players here. Did you read the article that came out today in the Sacramento Bee with Jason Anderson?
I did not.
It was pretty interesting. You know, everyone's talking about right now the playoff drought and all this because it's, you know, official now. 16 years missing the playoffs. You know, here's an interesting quote from it. 16 years of failure have given the Sacramento Kings ample time to amass a stunning record of fertility spanning 2 ownership groups, 4 general managers, 11 coaches, countless players, and a whole new generation of fans who have never experienced winning basketball in Sacramento. It's a pretty brutal article. It does lighten up halfway through and towards the end and gets a little bit more positive. It talks about Monty and the differences that he's made. You know, it talks about a quote from Jerry West, and the draft is the lifeblood of your team. And they go over all the draft picks that the Kings have missed on. And, you know, you can go to a lot of teams and you could say, you could have had Paul George if you wouldn't have taken this guy or all this. But consistently drafting the wrong player over and over and over again really does kill your team, because everybody misses on draft picks, but they hit on some, they miss on some. It keeps you active. But the amount of draft picks that the Kings have missed on is just incredible. You know, it's a really interesting article. I urge you all to check it out. The Sacramento Bee has changed their website now. So if you want to read the article, but you don't want to subscribe, you can hit maybe later and it'll let you read the full article now, which is nice because I'm not a subscriber. I'm sorry. I'm not.
They tend to do that, you know, through the second half of the season after the Kings slowly start to fall out of it. Yeah.
But it was an interesting article, you know, and it goes into you know, ownership, and there's quotes from Michael Malone and in his time and how he's thrived with the Nuggets, even though his first 3 seasons with them, they didn't make the playoffs, and ownership chose to stick with him and not fire him. And, you know, they talk about how it's now 9 seasons with Vivek as ownership group where the Kings have missed the playoffs. There was only 7 with the Maloofs, and, you know, the Maloofs ended badly for us here in Sacramento. A lot of us didn't like them because they tried to move the team multiple times and all this. But, you know, a lot of those ex-Kings guys that were around when the Maloofs there, they loved the Maloofs. They said that they took very good care of their employees. You know, they were all about the team. They just ran out of money, and unfortunately that doesn't work well. But, you know, they're talking about Vivek. They're talking about, you know, they talked to a random executive that was with the Kings at the time and said that he's been on conference calls, and everything has taken so long to make a decision because it has to go through all these different parties. And you have Joe Dumars and Ranadive and Vlade and Brian Williams and all these other guys that are involved in these decision-making processes, and how this has really slowed down this team and really had a big detrimental feel and just overall value to Sacramento. And then it goes on to a positive note, and they said they interviewed a couple guys that are currently on the team, and, you know, they said that it doesn't feel this way anymore, and that Monty truly feels like he's in charge, and everything that's going on is all Monty. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a lot to unravel. You know, I think any professional sports franchise that has been bad for a number of years, whether it's 16 or 4 or something like that, obviously the problems are all similar, right? Like it starts from the top and it works its way down. You might have an owner who tries to do too much. You hire the wrong people to run your team. They make the wrong decisions about personnel. They hire the wrong coaches. They don't stick with the coach for long enough. But all of that, you know, that one big package, it's you can't point to any one thing and be like, well, if the Kings had kept Dave Yeager or Mike Malone, they'd be in the playoffs now. Maybe they would, but there's a lot of other things that have to happen. It's not just any particular thing. It's a little bit of luck wrapped into smart decision making and smart financial, you know, operations and So there's a whole bunch of stuff that the Kings need to fix before they begin to get good. I do want to point out real quickly that Royal Rebounds may have made that comment about the 20-year playoff drought, but that was Vinny. I don't want anybody to put those words in Barry or I's mouths yet. But no, it just comes back to why this offseason is so important, because the team has been bad for so long, but there are still reasons to be optimistic. You have a really solid duo of Fox and Sabonis now. You have a guy like Davion Mitchell who has really exploded onto the scene at the end of the year and proven that he was worth taking it as the 9th pick. So that you feel like things are getting better. Monte McNair is a big reason for that. But a lot is going to depend on what they do this offseason, who they hire as coach,
exactly,
and what they do with this inevitable draft pick, whether they trade it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, another thing to remember is that, Vivek is a very, very smart guy. He is. Like, this guy immigrated here with nothing, created $1 billion company. He's had multiple successful ventures. He was a part owner of the Warriors. Now he's, an owner with the Kings. He's trying to purchase a soccer team. This dude has done a lot. He built the arena. He got the Kings to stay in Sacramento. Like, he's renovated everything. But then there's basketball operations, which are a little bit different than running a normal business. And basketball things take a little bit longer to develop. I feel like in normal business, it's good to be that chameleon where you constantly move and change. This isn't working. Let's try something else. This isn't working. Let's try something else. In basketball, it's a little bit different because you're dealing with so many people and building chemistry. And, it's a tough balance because, and I was actually, this was really hard for me, the whole Luke Walton situation, right? It's like we want consistency, yet what if it's the wrong guy in the job? What is the purpose of keeping something consistent or keeping a guy for 4 or 5 years if you can honestly look at him and say, this is not the right person for the job? And so that's why I've been so adamant that this year they need to do a real coaching search. They need to interview candidates. They need to go through everything. And then they need to pick somebody and they need to stick with that person and try and build some consistency. I think Monty's done a pretty good job so far here. This is year number 2 now. So he's going to have potentially 2-3 more years, hopefully, of opportunity to make something happen. He's going to bring in his own coach, and then we talk about roster shakeups. You look at a lot of these good teams, like even with the Denver Nuggets, the last time they missed the playoffs, they still had Jamal Murray and Jokic on that team. Did they trade them? No, because they believed in those guys and they moved forward. You look at a lot of these good teams, these teams that are constantly in the playoffs, their starting 5 is pretty much the same every year. Maybe they add one guy. The Bulls, to me, are an abnormality in this, right? Where you add a certain amount of guys in the offseason, that boosts you up. And that happens. We've seen that with big threes, with superstars joining together, but that doesn't work for the average team. And Sacramento being a small market team, they just need to continue to hit on their draft picks, and they need to leverage their talent to upgrade the roster. And I think that's exactly what Monty's doing. He just needs a little bit more patience from us, the fans, a little bit more patience from ownership. And then they gotta do it right with the coaching search.
They do. And Monty has done, everything that he has done since he's come here to Sacramento has been with a purpose. And there, you can see you can connect the dots. You can see his master plan at work here, so to speak. And I hope that Vivek does let him do his job because he appears to be pretty good at it. So they're on the right track with that. That being said, they're still a long ways away. We don't want to sugarcoat anything here. There's little morsels, little pieces of things that we're happy about with this team, but this team is still not good enough. So even with the improvement roster-wise or talent-wise, and that's the most difficult part about running a professional sports organization, right? Is that everything is so in today's society, particularly when it comes to sports, it's all about what have you done for me lately, and there's all this pressure of we want results now, which is why you see so many coaches fired early or maybe preemptively or before they should be let go. People don't give them a long enough chance. It's because there's all this added outside pressure of we want it now. However, the Kings are in a unique situation because there aren't many fan bases, maybe in all of sports, that will stick with a team through 16 straight losing seasons the way that Kings fans do.
Yep.
So Monty has that to his advantage, and I think that he understands that. So hopefully whoever they bring in as the next head coach is going to get a fair shake of things.
Yeah, I really hope so. And, just the fact that, and don't get me wrong, I love Tyrese Halliburton. I would not have traded him. That's not what I felt. I felt like he was the future of the Kings. But you look on the other side of the coin. We could have an all-star next season. We could have 2 all-stars next season. If Davion Mitchell keeps improving the way he's improving, we could have potentially 3 all-stars next season. But, I think they ended this year with more talent than they started with. So for me, that's all you can really ask for. If your team is constantly losing and constantly missing the playoffs, if you can take it one step at a time and just try and improve your roster every single season, they're going to get better. They will. And basketball is different than many other jobs in terms of, the performance of the GM does not always directly relate to wins on the court. It doesn't. GMs are given different, opportunities or different jobs to do by their owner. And it's not always to improve wins on the court. And even when
Trust
they do,
the process, right?
Yeah. And even when they do try and improve on the court, there's things that are out of your control, like players getting injured, players not getting along, what's going on in other parts of the league. I'm not putting this losing season on Monty, but in that regard, if these start to build up and I see something that's happening, if this is 6 years of him missing the playoffs, then this will count against him. But at this point, he took over a roster that had some issues. I think he's done everything right up until this point, and we just got to be patient. Unfortunately, guys, it takes a long time to pull yourself out of the ditch when you've been making these mistakes, and we were just behind.
Yeah, they were behind, and I wish, it's funny, we just talked about how you should, or not in every situation, but a lot of times coaches get fired preemptively, right, or too soon. They're not given a long enough opportunity to succeed with the team. That being said, I still think the Kings should have fired Luke Walton after last season. If they had come into this year with a different coach, not named Alvin Gentry or Luke Walton, who knows what candidates would have even been available or who they could have gotten. But it's all hindsight now. It's the same thing as looking back and saying, oh, you could have drafted this player, or you could have had a deal done for this guy. Those all might be true statements, but they don't mean anything anymore because those deals didn't fall through. So now it's what you do now here in the present and these next upcoming 2-3 months. Yeah,
they are very, very important. I don't want you guys to all leave, but I want you guys to check out this cool video of our new channel, Basketball at the Bar. I'm going to post a link in the chat. You guys all need to check it out. Vinny, cue the video.
Yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by payers. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Check it out. This is Basketball at the Bar. Starting tomorrow, we are going to be covering the entire NBA. Before you panic, don't worry, Royal Rebounds is not going anywhere. Unfortunately, the Kings season is over, but Calvin and I will continue to cover the NBA playoffs, the play-in, on Basketball at the Bar, and we will be producing a ton of content. We will be live Monday through Friday, so make sure you guys all check us out. I'm posting a link here in the chat for our live stream tomorrow, and we would love for you guys all to join us. Right, Calvin?
Of course. We know everybody here loves basketball just like we do, and Barry and I aren't going to stop talking about it, so if you guys want to come hang out with us and watch the playoffs, we'll be here.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll post the link here to the channel as well because, hey, we love basketball, and we want to keep talking about it. On that subject, Calvin, it looks like Frank Vogel has officially been fired. You see that?
Yeah, and Sass, you're right. It does suck to find out that you've been fired from Woj, but that is the world that we live in today. There are plenty of guys who have found out they were traded because of him, cut because of him, fired because of him, or not because of him, I guess, but through him. You know, that's the way it goes in today's world.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. I want to hear your thoughts on the Vogel situation. Did he deserve to be fired?
Well, I mean, again, it just this particular situation is an exact perfect replica or an example of what we have just been talking about with the coaching search for the Kings in general, right? Like, did he deserve to be fired? I don't know. Part of me wants to say no, just because, you know, they're only a couple years removed from winning a title, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Did this team this year fail? Absolutely, they did. And a lot of people are already saying it's the biggest failure of any team in NBA history. I don't know if I'm going to go that far.
No.
It is a big failure, for sure.
It's not even the Lakers' biggest failure.
But look, Frank Vogel can't magically make his guys healthy.
Yeah.
That was, to me, their biggest problem this year. They just couldn't get enough games, enough minutes with all of those guys at full strength on the court together. That, to me, is the reason why they weren't good this year. Russell Westbrook obviously did not have – he had his ups and downs, yes, for sure. And then, you know, there's those chemistry issues that are now starting to come to light, like that Russell Westbrook story we told on the show yesterday. Definitely that doesn't help. But is it Frank Vogel's fault, all on his shoulders? Hell no.
Yeah. You think he'll get picked up by a team pretty soon?
Oh, absolutely he will.
Yeah?
Absolutely he will.
Sacramento?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's you know, I always like to poke at the Lakers because it's the Lakers, right? And they don't lose very often, so it feels really good when they do lose and when they make bad decisions. Oldest roster in the NBA. What were they showing? It was like one of the oldest rosters of all time as far as like roster construction.
It is up there. It is up there.
For me,
I do want to remind everybody, though, the 96-97 Bulls, all 5 of their starters were all over 30 as well.
Yep.
They had a pretty good season. Those guys were also healthy for the whole year.
Yeah, and you know, for me, it's like this isn't even the biggest failure the Lakers had. I remember, what was it, like 10 years ago? They were able to trade for Steve Nash, get Dwight Howard when he was like reigning defensive player of the year. They had Ron Artest, Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol. That team was absolutely stacked. I think they made the playoffs like with their last game of the season, then they got worked in the first round. Huge failure. Huge failure. This is not even anywhere close.
No, definitely not. And Cole, man, first of all, what's up? Second of all, I'm not saying that injuries are necessarily an excuse, but if your roster is committed to 3 players and those 3 players don't get on the court very often, the rest of the team just isn't good enough for them to be a playoff team. And you're comment about the Warriors. I also have to put that down, too, because they haven't even made the playoffs in the last 3 years.
They got the number 2 overall pick because they suck due to injury.
So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, injuries are not an excuse, but they're still part of the problem. If your best players are hurt, then what are you supposed to do? And I'm talking about that from Frank Vogel's perspective, you know, not from the team's perspective necessarily, because so, LeBron's great. Like, you can make the argument he should have been able to help carry them since he was the healthiest out of all of them this year for the most part. But when it relates to Vogel directly, you can't blame this season on him.
Yeah.
I don't buy that at all.
And for me, it just goes into even more how more amazing LeBron is, that he is still doing what he's doing. Now he's the youngest player in NBA history to average 30 points a game, and he's the oldest player in NBA history to average 30 points a game. I don't even think scoring is his best attribute, and he's about to be number one in scoring on the all-time list in the next 2 years.
Pretty amazing to think of.
It is absolutely wild. You think 2 years he'll break it, or next year? And next year is pretty quick.
He actually has the ability to break it next year.
That's crazy. All right, Calvin. I want to remind you all again. Check us out tomorrow for Basketball at the Bar. We're going to talk about the NBA play-in. We're going to explain how it all works. We're going to talk about matchups, all this fun stuff. But Calvin, I want to pick your brain on awards. Now that the season is officially over, or the regular season, who's your front runner for the MVP award?
So, if you had asked me this a couple of months ago, it would have been a much more difficult answer for me. People are saying that this is a really one of the tougher MVP races to kind of break down in recent years. I don't think it's even close anymore. Jokic has done everything he needed to, in my mind. Not only has he been the best player, maybe in the entire league. I mean, just the numbers alone. The dude is the first player in the last 50 seasons to be ranked in the top 10 in points, assists, rebounds, and field goal percentage. He's the first player in NBA history to record over 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists in a single season. I mean, he's doing stuff that no one's ever done before, and he literally dragged this Denver team that is supposed to be loaded with talent, but they're depleted with injuries, to the playoffs by himself and avoided the play-in tournament. Yeah. He's the MVP.
And he looks like he's never run a mile in his life.
Yeah. He's such a really fine player to watch, though. I mean, he's not the most athletic guy out there. He's not the quickest or the fastest, but his footwork is incredible. Every movement he makes on the court is with a purpose. He's incredibly difficult to defend, and he is working his way towards becoming the best passing big man of all time, if he's not already there.
Yeah, it's amazing because the dude is absolutely huge. And just the things that he can do with the basketball, the way he can pass, he can shoot, like nobody that size has that coordination. It just doesn't come hand in hand, which really makes him special. And a lot of these guys that we talk about, LeBron, Giannis, the Joker, all these guys are just athletic freaks. And not always in the I have a six-pack or whatever, but just in terms of they can do things at their size that nobody else can do.
Yeah, he's incredible to watch, and I definitely want to give a big shout-out to Joel Embiid and Giannis also. I mean, both those guys had incredible seasons. Embiid was my favorite for MVP for most of the year just because he was blowing me away with what he was doing on the court. But when you add in the fact that his team was so much better to start the year than Denver's because of the injuries. Then they trade for James Harden. That doesn't discredit what Embiid did out there, but Jokic, he had one of maybe the greatest seasons in NBA history. He's got to be the MVP.
Where are you at on the Defensive Player of the Year award?
This one is really hard for me. Yeah. It's really, really hard. I think you can make a case for 3 or 4 guys. To me, it's between, and Robert Williams, he had a great second half of the season.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he gets hurt. I don't think it was enough maybe for him to actually win the award, but he certainly is another guy that deserves to be mentioned in the conversation. But to me, it's between Bam and Giannis. I would give it to either one of them.
No Draymond Green.
I'm not putting Draymond in there. You didn't play enough games. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Mikhail Bridges is another guy I think that deserves some. I don't think he's going to win the award, but I think he deserves a little bit of a mention here. But yeah, for me, it's probably going to come down to either Bam or Giannis, and I'm happy with either one of them getting it.
Gothan said, I wonder how much of Joker's stat line is because of the league going away from the big man game. I think he means it in terms of like matchups, right? Like Jokic, no one really matches up with him because teams don't really play the big man like that, and they're not prepared. They don't practice against guys that can pass like that. They're just not prepared to play against a guy that can do things that he can do because nobody else can.
I mean, you can say that about a lot of players depending on the era they played in. Like, how many guys are going to surpass 2,000 made three-pointers eventually in their career because of Steph Curry? How many big men are going to model their games after Jokic because of the way he plays? Like,
yep.
I think there's maybe a little bit of truth to that, but I also believe that Jokic is talented enough and skilled enough as a player that he would have put up these numbers probably regardless. Like, he can score inside, he can score outside. His vision, his passing that's a product of how the game has been spread out. He has more opportunity to find guys because he's not back down in the post the whole time, for sure. But that's also his game. Like, that's the way he plays.
Here's a weird question. Do you think the altitude helps him at all? Because when you look at the guy, he doesn't look like he's in the best shape, right? We all know that guys like to train at altitude, right?
Uh-huh.
Do you think that could have anything to do with it? And the fact that his home is Denver, where you got to run twice as hard, so then when he goes other places, he's feeling good, right?
I don't know how much I buy into that. Like, I think Jokic is a great player.
I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying, like we've seen it in the NFL, kickers have an advantage in Denver, right? Like,
sure,
they can kick the ball
a very
way
specific
further.
Skill, though.
So what about basketball players that are constantly running up and down? Like, if you train in Denver, are you better off? How much of an edge is that really?
I'll be honest, I don't really know. Because of the fact that there's so many basketball games played throughout the year everywhere across the country, and guys put up these numbers all over the place. I mean, I think there is probably something to be said about a team having to come into Denver on a back-to-back and having to adjust to the altitude real quickly. But these guys are,
they're all professionals.
In their mid-20s. Yeah. Maybe Jokic isn't in the greatest shape of any athlete in the world, but he's still in good enough shape to play basketball, whether he's playing at a mile high or not. So
refs help star players in general. We got a bunch of people here hating on Jokic in the chat, saying he's a flopper.
Hey, that's fine. Like, yeah. Embiid flops. Harden
players,
flops. Luka flops.
The problem is
they're still great players.
The players, all their job is to take advantage of the rules, right? Like, they don't set the rules or any of that. They play the game based on how it's called. So I don't. He doesn't
flop on any of the beautiful full court passes he throws, or the perfect, in between three defender dime bounce passes to cut into the basket. He doesn't flop on those.
Vlade, the king of flops.
Yeah, Vlade is the father, the godfather of flopping, right?
Yeah, he really is. I'm going to put this link here in the chat to everyone that just joined. Make sure you guys check out Basketball at the Bar. We're debuting this wonderful new logo here tomorrow, April 11th. First episode, Basketball at the Bar. Monday through Friday, we're going to do lives every single day. We're going to break down the NBA playoffs, the play-in tournament, a bunch of fun stuff. And we're going to be having a couple beverages as well. So make sure you guys check us out there. And also, please like this video. Please share this video with all your favorite Kings fans. And hit the subscribe button here, too, because at Royal Rebounds, we take care of all Kings fans. And you hit that subscribe button, you join the Royal family. And we're making the playoffs next year, Calvin. I don't care what Vinny says.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else in the awards you want to mention? Rookie of the Year.
That was good, Ivan.
Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year is a tough one to call also. I mean, Evan Mobley getting hurt there late in the year, I think that really hurt his chances. He was having a phenomenal season. Cade Cunningham came on really strong late. Detroit even got some more wins there in that second half of the year. I think you can make a case for a lot of these guys. Scotty Barnes is another one. Even Franz Wagner, he was probably the front runner early on in the season. I think it just speaks to the level of talent from this rookie class, though. Like, it's this is a really good group here, and these guys are going to be, major factors in this league for a long time. So I'm not exactly sure who I would give it to right now. If I had to pick right here this second, I'd probably give it to Scotty Barnes, but
Okay, not Davion Mitchell.
I can't. Unfortunately, I can't give it to Davion.
You didn't see all those stats from all those assists? Like, how many guys have done that? I'm just joshing.
No, not many. You're right, though.
Yeah.
Like, he had a great season, but the problem for me is he did it late in the season in meaningless games against the not top-tier competition, which, again, I don't want that to take away from Davion. I'm really happy with how he ended the season. But when it comes to Rookie of the Year, I need the full body of work, and I think Scotty Barnes has done that.
Yeah, great
from
player.
Start to finish.
Great player. Well, I want to give everybody kind of a quick little preview of tomorrow's episode at Basketball at the Bar, which I posted in the chat if you guys are interested. We're going to talk about the play-in tournament. It's official, Calvin. We have the lineups. Nets, Cavs, Hawks, Hornets.
Real quick, Gotham Ja, if he doesn't win Most Improved Player, you should just throw that award out.
You see that chain he was wearing tonight?
It's crazy.
That chain he was wearing was wild.
Yeah, it was.
Did you watch that game a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Did you see he had his hoodie on and he had his hat on top of the hood?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to try that style. I've never done that before.
He's a funny guy, man. I love Ja. I've loved him since he was at Murray State. I would have taken him number 1 overall.
I know you would. I know you would. So who are you taking, Nets or Cavs?
I'm taking the Nets. I like Cleveland, but I'm not really happy with the way that they ended the season. Mm-hmm. They're a very solid defensive team.
Lots of injuries.
In a one-game situation, if I've got KD and Kyrie, those guys can explode for 80, 85 points on any night. And I'm not ready to bet against them for one game, especially against a young Cleveland team.
So Nets are currently the 7th seed. So I know they're tied schedule-wise. So if they win that game, they will officially be the 7th seed, and they will match up with, I think, the Bucks in the first round or the Celtics. We're trying to figure out that tiebreaker.
It's the Celtics, actually. The tiebreaker is official. It's going to be Milwaukee and Chicago, the 3 and the 6 seed.
And then you have Atlanta versus Charlotte for that last spot. Each of these teams has to win 2 games to make the playoffs. Who's losing this game?
This one's tough. I mean, I don't really have a lot of faith in either of these teams. If I had to put money on it, I'd put money on Atlanta winning. But Atlanta has been a very disappointing team all season long. They have a tendency to play down to their competition. Charlotte's a team that can really run, can really score a lot of points. So if you fall asleep for 5-6 minutes defensively in that game, you could give up a 16-0 run, and it would be over for them. So Charlotte definitely has a chance. I still like Atlanta, but this one's going to be a close call, I think.
If I'm Sacramento and I'm hoping for John Collins, I am wishing that the Hawks lose this game and miss the playoffs. And as I mentioned, they have to win 2 games.
They do.
But I'm hoping that they lose this game so that John Collins wants out and maybe wants to move on to a team like Sacramento. Are you taking Cleveland over either of these teams in the second game?
I would like Cleveland's chances just because I think they're so long and tough to score on, first of all. And Atlanta and Charlotte both, if they have trouble putting the ball in the basket, they usually have trouble winning because they don't stop people. Mm-hmm. They really need to get up and down quickly and score. Cleveland is another one of those teams that likes to slow the game down, play at a much more grinded out pace. So I think Cleveland would have a good chance against either one of those teams, but that's why they play the games. And it's one game too, so anything can happen.
When's Jared Allen coming back?
I don't have a definite answer on that. I don't think that they were too concerned about him being out. Somebody else is hurt for them that they're a little concerned
They said
about.
No timetable, and coach said if he's ready to go, he'll go. So unfortunately, not really sure where they are here.
Yeah, you're right, Gotham. Most teams have that problem. Some teams have a bigger problem of it than others, though.
Yeah. All right, moving on here to the Western Conference. You have Minnesota versus LA, the Clippers, that is, the 7th and 8th seed. Minnesota's been playing incredible. I know the Clippers are on a 5-game winning streak now after beating, the Kings last night. They must have played again tonight and won because they're on a 5-game winning streak now. But Minnesota was playing incredible just a few weeks ago. Who are you taking in that 7-8 matchup?
That's a tough one. Minnesota, man, they really turned it on in the second half of the season. They rose all the way up to the top scoring team in the league. They're number 1 in points per game. They really shoot it well and really fill it up. This is going to be a big, big game. Like I said, it's one game. Anything can happen. Both those teams really like to get up shots from the outside. So 3-point shooting is going to be a big factor in determining
We
this
saw
game.
that last night.
Yep. And, I don't want to bet against the Clippers right now. I think Paul George is looking really, really good. They just got Norman Powell back.
Mm-hmm.
The question for me is what's Karl Anthony Towns going to do? Because he's going to have probably Zubac on him, right?
Yep.
And that's a guy who doesn't spend a whole lot of time usually defending guys away from the basket. But in this game, he's going to be out on the 3-point line pretty much the whole game.
Yep.
So that could open up the middle of the floor for somebody like Anthony Edwards to just attack the rim at will. It's a tough game to call.
Yeah, it is a tough game. For me, I feel like I know what you're going to get out of Towns. Unfortunately, he hasn't played well in the playoffs or as well as people wanted him to play. But I feel like I know what I'm going to get out of Towns. To me, it's the other guys. D'Angelo Russell. What do we really expect out of him? I know he missed the game today against the Bulls, dealing with just kind of some minor stuff. But D'Angelo Russell had an amazing season in Brooklyn and made his first All-Star game. Since then, he's kind of just bounced around. He got traded, to Golden State in that trade for, who was it, D'Angelo Russell for KD.
Yep.
And then ends up getting traded for Andrew Wiggins to Minnesota. Him, for me, is the X factor. Like, you need to see a really good D'Angelo Russell if they're going to win this game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely.
And the Clippers have all these pesky defenders that are just going to be on him. They're going to be trying to force him to turn the ball over. So, for me, he is the X factor of this game. All right, 10-9. The Pelicans and the Spurs, which probably weren't even trying to make the playoffs this season, they finished 1 win ahead of the Lakers, which is pretty crazy. If the Kings hadn't beat the Lakers in that triple overtime game earlier this season, the Lakers could potentially have a shot at this play-in. So that's really wild to think about. I know who I'm picking here, and I think I know who you are, but let's just hear from the horse's mouth. Pelicans,
I'm
Spurs.
taking the New Orleans Pelicans to win this game. CJ McCollum, for me, is the difference maker here. This is a guy who has a lot of playoff experience already. I mean, the Blazers were, up until this season, had the longest playoff streak, I think, in the entire NBA.
Yep.
8 straight seasons making the playoffs in Portland. And McCollum, ever since he's come to the Pelicans, has been a breath of fresh air for them. Him and Brandon Ingram are really, really vibing.
He got a new lung, so he's got a breath of fresh air now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm taking New Orleans to win this game.
Do you think New Orleans has a shot against the Clippers or the Timberwolves?
Yeah, I definitely think they do.
Yeah,
I definitely think they do.
It's so interesting,
because again, it is one game, and the Pelicans now have a guy in CJ McCollum who has, a lot of, like I said, playoff experience. When it comes down to a win or go home situation, you're going to lean on somebody like that. Yes, the Clippers have a lot of those guys as well, but anything can happen. CJ and Brandon Ingram can both easily score, 25 plus points in a game. So
yeah. At the start of the season, if I were to tell you or you were to tell me that Zion did not play a single game this year, I would have told you that the Pelicans missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
And here they are. They're not in the playoffs yet, but they have a shot at making the playoffs, and a pretty good shot, in my opinion. It really depends on what happens to the Clippers, I think. I'm going to pick Minnesota to win that first game.
Oh, wow.
I am.
All right.
Just because the Clippers have been so inconsistent this season. They've had so many guys in and out of the lineup. I don't really know what to think of them. Now, if they had Kawhi Leonard, it would be a much different situation for me. If they still had Serge Ibaka, I'm a big fan of Serge Ibaka. But then it goes Clippers against the Pelicans, and that's a tough matchup. I feel like either of those teams could win. So I'm not going Spurs. I'm not going Lakers. I'm not going Kings. But I think that, those three teams have a good chance at making the playoffs. And that's not the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's the Pelicans, the Clippers, and what was that other team I mentioned? Minnesota. There we go.
It's going to be exciting. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm really excited tomorrow for basketball at the bar. It's going to be so much fun, Calvin. It is.
It is going to be a lot of fun.
Anything else you want to jump in tonight here?
I saw Gotham's comment here about Andrew Wiggins for most improved player. I think he definitely has a case as well. But Ja's just the level that he rose to this season, to me, is head and shoulders above what anybody else did to improve their games.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys, we want to thank you all so much for just tuning in with us this season, hanging out with us this season. 82 games have gone by now. Unfortunately, the Kings are not making the playoffs, which I predicted them to make. I'm a little heartbroken, but that's okay. We're going to move on. I've seen some positives from the Kings, as I mentioned. I'm okay with management right now. We need to figure out the coaching staff. We need to make some moves, add some better players this offseason. But I'm very optimistic at this point. Like I said, if you guys want to join us for playoff coverage, I'm posting a link here in the chat for Basketball at the Bar. Monday through Friday, we're going to post a video every single day. We will be live. Come hang out with us and watch the playoffs. We would greatly appreciate it. And in the meantime, we will have a video for you guys in the next week or two on Royal Rebounds, breaking down whatever's going on in the Sacramento area, talking about coaching. We're going to do a draft preview. We're going to do a draft party, draft lottery party, free agency, all that fun stuff. So make sure you guys stay tuned to Royal Rebounds. Make sure you go to manscaped.com and you use coupon code ROYALFAMILY to get 20% off and free shipping. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate all the support, and we are really excited for next season as Kings fans. Calvin, anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Thank you, everybody here, for all the kind words. You guys make this that much more enjoyable for Barry and I. We already love talking about basketball in general. We do it all the time, but to be able to have created this royal family, this community, to see the same people in the chat every day, it's validation for us to do this, and we really, really appreciate it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you all so much. And hey, if we're not putting enough content out for you guys on Royal Rebounds, hit us up on Instagram at Royal Rebounds. Tell us, hey, we want a video about this.
Twitter.
We want to hear what you guys are doing right now. We want to know what you think about this. We're happy to put out content for you all, and we just enjoy it so much. We're all therapeutic as Kings fans together. We all have a shoulder for each other to cry on. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Have a wonderful night. Go Kings.
Yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by Peyton. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.